Hey everyone, Rev Rush here. Today I participated in a Nugget Bridge live tournament. It's essentially a real life tournament but online where you go through Swiss rounds and then the top cut is best 2 out of 3. So I figured I'd showcase the team and then I'd show some battles. It's a team we've used in previous battles here online. It has dual primals, so a dual, Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre. It has Roar, which I never use too often. There's also Thunderous, who's very helpful for paralyzing with Thunder Wave and taunting opposing Smurgles. It has Lucario, who honestly I don't use too often because I'm afraid of Intimidators. It has Mega Salamence, who's also good for substituting and Hidden Power icing the dragons. And it has Cresselia, who's a fun bag of tricks, who runs all sorts of neat moves. So now we'll showcase some battles here. And so our opponent has a Gengar, a Primal Kyogre, a Groudon, Cresselia, Thunderous, and Salamence. So it's very similar to our team with the dual primals. Actually, besides the Gengar, I think our teams are actually exactly the same. So I'm pretty unsure of what to send out here. So he sends out his Gengar and a Groudon, while I send out my Salamence and a Thunderous. I figured Salamence would be good for the Intimidates, so that's what I do here. Well, I'm going to target his Gengar. I know his Gengar is probably going to Icy Wind me, but I'd like to take down his Gengar in one turn if I can. It gets rid of his speed, pressure. So I'm going to Hyper Voice, which does a nice amount of damage to the Gengar, and I'm going to get that Thunderbolt and take down the Gengar. So though I'm lower on speed, I'm a little bit ahead because that's where I want it to be. The crit on the Thunderous does hurt because it's going to KO it, but I think it would have KO'd it anyways. So he's going to Intimidate, which is fine. It doesn't actually do anything to my Mega Salamence. He makes his Salamence Mega, and I'm going to Protect in case he tries to target down my Salamence. Hyper Voice is going to do a little bit of damage, while I'm going to get that Ice Beam off on the Salamence so I can take it down in one hit. He's going to Precipice Blade me, but it gets a crit, of course. So here I'm like, ooh, I'm kind of in a bad spot, although I do have the speed advantage, except Salamence has lost his speed, so not really. So luckily I win the I guess the speed tie. I'm slower than his Kyogre, which means that I'm going to be able to get off my Desolate Land before his, and my Precipice Blades hits before his Groudon, which means I was faster. So it comes right down to it, and I even got 2 crits, but we did win this battle here. So we'll go on to our next one here. This one was a tough one too. He brings out his Thunderous and a Kangaskhan. I again lead with Salamence and Thunderous. They're very good solid leads, honestly, and bringing out Salamence with Intimidate is grand. He switches out his Kangaskhan, probably not wanting to be intimidated with his Kangaskhan, which is a solid move. I'm going to Thunder Wave what would have been a Kangaskhan, but it has a Lumberry, so it actually didn't do too much. He tries to paralyze my Thunderous, my Salamence, to no avail. Well, I'm going to taunt the Thunderous, but unfortunately I didn't taunt the Amoonguss. His Thunderous actually tries to taunt mine, which means mine was faster. And he gets the Spore off on my Mega Salamence, which is problematic, honestly. He's going to bring back out his Groudon, while I think I might have I don't think I Thunderbolted it. No, I taunted, which I would taunt what would have been the Amoonguss spot. My Salamence is unfortunately still asleep, so it's going to get a Thunderbolt off onto mine. And that was about 40 damage. I'm gonna wake up just in time though after one turn sleep, and I'm able to get off a Hyper Voice. And even though it's a crit, I don't think it would have mattered. Citrus Berry brings back a little bit of his health, and that's a pretty neat move for Thunderous nowadays, considering most of them run Focus Sash. He's gonna Mega Kangaskhan, and I'm going to Protect in case of possible Fake Outs, which is what I assumed was going to happen, and it did. He tries to Thunderbolt my Thunderous this time, so lucky for me, nothing too bad happened from that. I'm going to try to... I think I was maybe going to try to Paralyze, but I didn't. So I'm going to go for a Hyper Voice here. And do I Thunderbolt? Yes. Okay, good. I saw the taunt coming, so I figured I'd Thunderbolt and get that Thunderous off the field. So now we're stuck with a Kangaskhan Groudon, and I figure he's not going to Fake Out and just go for damage, which he does. So the Hyper Voice still did damage. I didn't try to protect my Mega Salamence at least. He gets a Substitute off with this Groudon, which is actually pretty neat. However, I have a Kyogre, which helps stop any fire moves, and I still have another Pokemon in the back, so I'm still in a pretty good shape compared to my opponent. He tries to Sucker Punch, and my Salamence, I guess, probably assuming I was going to attack. Luckily I don't. And Precipice Blades actually misses my Primal Kyogre, very luckily, and our opponent forfeits after that. Unfortunate miss for them. Now we're facing a very neat team that involves Primal Kyogre, a Mega Rayquaza, Mawile, Gengar, Thundurus, and a Crobat. It's a very neat team. I've seen Gengar and Crobat used to a lot of success lately. So I'm going to bring out Intimidator, assuming he brings someone physically attacking, and he does. Rayquaza is his physical attacker. In order to get my speed boost from Mega Salamence, I'm going to need to Protect this turn, considering that Rayquaza would have been faster if he kept it out. So I Mega and Protect, and that stops Ice Beams too, so kind of dual purpose right there. I'm going to Thunderbolt his Kyogre, and he goes for an Ice Beam, which is perfect for me. Now I could take down his Kyogre the next turn if I want to. I can Hyper Voice, and he goes for a Wild Charge, which is a very neat physical attacking set Thundurus. But what I wanted to happen does happen, so I take down one of his Primals, which is just grand to have from the start of a battle, you know? He goes for Extreme Speed, taking out my Thundurus, unfortunately. While he's gonna... I go for Hidden Power Ice. I didn't know if his Rayquaza would be a Mega, so this actually was really nice to have. It doesn't do enough to KO it, but it does enough to hurt it. I'm going to Protect in case of any, you know, Dragon Ascents or anything, and I'm actually predict that Protect and go for an Ice Beam on his Thundurus. Kind of gotta think ahead in these battles. Think, is my opponent gonna Protect or attack? I figured he might want to keep his Rayquaza alive a little longer. So, his Rayquaza, his Mawile goes Mega. And that's why I kind of assumed he didn't have a Mega Rayquaza. So there's some Focus Sash running Rayquazas out there. And I'm going to get an Ice Beam off onto that Rayquaza while I set up a sub with 1 or 2 HP left. Our opponent forfeits. They didn't have too much left for them there. I did have Kyogre in the back as well, so that would have not been in their favor. This is a really tough battle and a very interesting set. The Yveltal here actually runs Leftovers. And he sends out his Raichu and Mega Salamence, and I send out the same lead I've been leading before, but this is very problematic due to the fact that Raichu here has Lightning Rod, so I can't use any attacks with my Thundurus. He's gonna Mega his Salamence, and he's gonna fake out my Thundurus, who I wasn't probably gonna use anyways for too much avail. I was probably gonna taunt, but I'm gonna get off a Hidden Power Ice onto that Salamence, which does a nice amount of damage. He's gonna switch out his Salamence for a Groudon, while I think I'm gonna try to switch out because Thundurus just can't do anything in that situation. And I protect my Mega Salamence in case of, Volt Tackle on it, but he goes for the Cresselia. So, he switches out his Primal Groudon in place of a Yveltal. Neat choice. I actually am going to go for a Trick Room this turn because he has his Tailwind up, which means that even though Salamence would normally be faster than a Yveltal, with Trick Room and them having a Tailwind up, my Salamence actually becomes faster. So I'm going to get off a free Ice Beam and a Hyper Voice, which, irritatingly enough, doesn't do enough, and he's going to get a Snarl off. That's a very neat move that Yveltals run. Snarl lowers your special attack, and in VGC 2016 there's a lot of special attacking Pokemon, so it's pretty neat. He KOs his Raichu with Volt Tackle from the recoil damage, and Mega Salamence has just a little bit of health, but that Tailwind they had is gone, so he's not faster anymore. He's going to Fire Punch my Cresselia, knocking it right out, and he's actually going to Roost, very neat move that most Yveltals don't run, and my special attack's lowered, so my options for moves on the Mega Salamence are actually pretty limited. I'm going to bring out my Primal Groudon and hope that it's faster, while I switch out Salamence, maybe saving it for later, and bring out my Thundurus. He protects his Yveltal, but I was going for his Groudon, and I get a nice amount of damage off with Precipice Blades. It's a Rock Slide Groudon. I don't know if it has Precipice Blades, but it does a nice amount of damage, and we learned that my Groudon is faster in the Trick Room setting. He's going to protect his Groudon, and luckily I actually predict that and Fire Punch his Yveltal. So, now we're in a better, I guess, scenario, except for the fact that Mega Salamence and his Groudon are actually faster than me. I try to Thunder Wave his Salamence to no avail, while he goes and gets a Precipice Blades off. Luckily, I'm a bulkier set, so I'm able to live that Precipice Blades and return it back at him. since I figure one of my Pokemon's gonna die here, I better Thunder Wave that Mega Salamence so that when my Salamence comes out, I'm still alive. Even better, my Thunderous lives with just a sliver of red, and since he's paralyzed, Salamence has no priority. I'm able to get a Hyper Voice off and take down that opponent. There was a loss in this next round. Sometimes, you get mad, you just close out of a battle, so I'm 4-1 right now, really and truly. And now we're on to our last battle here that will determine if our opponent, if I make it into a top cut for this live tournament. Give me 1 second. I'm going to switch the sides here. Now, we'll start. He has a Shedinja, which I've noticed before. It has, you can use Soak on it and make its only super effective moves Electricity and Grass. So, that's why I'm going to lead with I'm going to bring in my Thunderous, Mega Salamence, a Kyogre, and my Primal Groudon. So I get intimidated off figuring that his Groudon might be physical, while I try to protect here in case. I figure I might be faster than that Smeargle, so I might be able to get a substitute off and get myself in a nice advantage. He tries to Stone Edge my protected Thunderous to no avail, while he brings in Xerneas. My Mega Salamence is behind a sub, so that's actually pretty nice. I can get off free Hyper Voices for a little bit. Well, I'm going to try to target what would have been the Smeargle. I didn't realize it till later in the battle, but his Smeargle is Scarfed, so that's probably why he switched out his Smeargle immediately. And I'm going to get a Hyper Voice off onto his Groudon. And unfortunately for our opponent, actually no, never mind. He does get that Stone Edge off. I'm going to bring in my Primal Kyogre. Probably a good choice here in case of any Precipice Blades or anything. And I'm going to get a Hyper Voice off, knocking out the Groudon and the Xerneas. My Mega Salamence is faster than a Xerneas without Geomancy, so that's probably why I did that. I didn't realize, I figured my Mega Salamence would be faster, but his Smeargle is Scarfed, so he gets a Dark Void off, and I think this is where things kind of look problematic. I realize that he can hurt me, and his Shedinja has returned, which does a lot of damage. So now both of my Pokemon are currently asleep, unfortunately, meaning that my opponent can get off lots of free attacks while I sleep. His return does a little bit of damage there, and he tries to Dark Void again because I guess he's locked into it. While I wake up and get off a Hyper Voice, and this is where I realize, oh, it's Scarfed. I activate his Focus Sash, but since he has, 1 HP, it's not going to do anything. And here's where I realize, since he hasn't soaked yet, he still is weak to fire. If I didn't have my Primal Groudon, it would be game here, because the only thing that I really have on my team that's going to be able to take down that Shedinja is a Fire Punch. He's going to return my Primal Kyogre just a little bit, and I'm able to get off that Fire Punch there and take down my opponent. After this, I did make it into Top Cut, and unfortunately I went 0-2. I lost to an opponent who I had previously won against, but that's life. I did make it to the top 8, so hey, that's something. As always, if you enjoyed this video, do make sure to press that like button down below, and subscribe as well if you'd like to see more content. Feel free to leave a comment down below if you'd like to battle too. Thanks everyone.